Hello, one and all, and welcome to a fun learning session of the Brewing Labs. Now, for this one, we're actually doing a Grixis list that I kind of had fun with. Now, I call it the list the Grixis Flying Seminar, and mostly it's basically a flying list that's kind of like a flying control list, more or less. So, what's the basic premise? Well, what's with the lessons? Well, it's because we have a lot of learning in this deck. We have Eye Twitch, which when it dies, it learns. We have the Poet's Quill. When it enters the battlefield, learns. We have also Dream Strix, which essentially when it dies, learns. We also have the Retriever Phoenix, which when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, learn. But also, if we don't need cards from our sideboard, and this is in the graveyard, anytime we learn, which we have a lot of ways of learning in the deck, hey, this can come back onto the battlefield untapped and attacking. That is very, very relevant. So, pretty much we got a lot of flyers that are teaching and learning and doing a lot of shenanigans. Now, since that, let's actually quickly talk about the sideboard here. This is a best of one deck, but what we have here is a few lessons. We have stuff like Confront the Past, which is used here as Planeswalker removal, but we also have a few Planeswalkers in the deck, so if we can use it as a reanimator spell, perfectly fine. Mercurial Transformation, I've been actually liking this card a lot more the more I actually tinker and play with it. Like, you can use this defensively. If there's a non-land permanent that's being very problematic to you, all you can do is just essentially turn this into a creature, use one of your many removal spells that you have within the deck, remove it, and then hey, that's a way to actually remove a non-land permanent that is very problematic to you. You can also use this on the offense as well, which is really nice. So, like, being able to make one of your smaller creatures into a 4/4, attach it with a Poet's Quill, have it lifelink. That actually helped me save some games. We're also throwing one Fractal Summoning in here just as a late game threat other than the Mascot Exhibition. Basically, Fractal Summoning's in here if we want to go tall. Mascot Exhibition is in here if we need to go wide. That's basically the premise. That's our unit generators in the lesson sideboard, essentially. Very nice card, especially if we can make this really big and then attach a Poet's Quill to it, giving it lifelink. Very, very nice. We also throw one Teachings of the Archaic in here. This is a card that actually has been impressing me a lot more. Like, when I originally looked at the card, I was just like, eh. But this is a card that I really don't mind tutoring out the sideboard, especially since we have a lot of ways of emptying our hand out by either casting spells or foretelling them and such. So being able to essentially target Teaching of the Archaics and then be able to draw two, even some circumstances draw 3 cards, really, really nice. We also throw in Introduction to Annihilation. You might be wondering why I'm not throwing Necrotic Fumes in the deck over Introduction to Annihilation. 2 reasons. One, this is unconditional removal to anything. Yes, your opponent draws a card. If you need to remove a very problematic permanent, you don't mind. Second reason, for you to actually use Necrotic Fuming, you have to exile a card from your pretty much exile creature you control. Which I really don't want to do that with this deck since we have a lot of majority of value-based creatures that either need to benefit from dying or staying on the battlefield, so exiling them, a little bit of a non-vote. We also are throwing Start from Scratch in here, mostly just as target artifact removal, though there are going to be once in a blue moon scenarios where doing 1 damage to any target can actually help us out, just be like 1 cheap ping to win the game. I mean, heck, that's probably one of my little teeny goals, is actually be able to win a game using Start from Scratch to deal the last points of damage to the opponent. That would be kind of hilarious, but a majority of the time, we're just going to use this to destroy a target artifact like a Embercleave, a Great Hinge, etc. And as stated before, Mascot's Exhibition, if we want to go wide, especially if our opponent has a wide board state, just being able to get the extra tokens, very, very nice. Now let's talk about the other cards in the deck, because we're kind of going into a Grixis mid-range control shell, more or less. So with that, we have to have some removals, such as Blood Chief's First, Heartless Act. We also have 2 Poison the Cup in here, and 2 Prismari Command. Just an overall great card. The more I play with this card, the more I'm like, this is really legit fun to play. We're also running 2 Baleful Masteries for our primary removal. Now, as for value, besides the whole Learn Lesson cycle, we're also running 2 Dream Devourers, which mostly we're doing this for the Foretell so that we can hide cards from any hand disruption, as well as being able to ramp 2 cards a lot more earlier than we should. Like, for example, Professor Onyx on turn 4, Goldspan Dragon on turn 3, etc., and even all of our learn stuff, like being able to get a Retriever Phoenix with 4/2 mana, later down the line, or Dream Strits for 1 mana, etc., etc., etc. We're also running 1 Volky God of Lies and Tibble Cosmic Imposter. Majority of the time, we really wanted just to cast it for Tibble Cosmic Imposter for this deck, but if we do need to do the hand disruption on the opponent, that's a nice option for us to have. We also are trying out Rowan, Scar of Spox, and Will, Skull of Frost. But while the abilities on this card are nice, actually, the reason why we're playing this card is because of the static effect. Instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. From how many times I tested iterations of this deck, you would be surprised how beneficial that static effect is. Like, granted, many people who play Izzet Spellslingers and know the power of that 2-drop Goblin that does the same effect, you already know the power of it, but having it on a Planeswalker with just some nice effects depending on which side you have it on, very nice card. I am kind of tempted to make cut a card just to throw this in so we can have both the Will, Skull, or Frost, and you know what? Actually, I kind of convinced myself on that. We're going to cut out the Tibbled and actually throw in... Now, for the record, I would recommend throwing the Tibbled in, but let's actually throw in that so if we have the chance to essentially get the Will or Rowan. So, let's do that actually, just for a flavor win kind of there. So then, besides that, we also have Galliseth Prismari, since we have some artifact generation with the Prismari command, as well as artifacts like Poet's Quill, which can be used as mana rocks to help us cast our spells, which with the mana discount is actually really nice. We also throw in a few Retriever Phoenix, just because, not Retriever Phoenix, brain fart. Miller, we already talked about that. Goldspan Dragon. Obviously, this is a card that if you're playing in these colors, you're playing mid-range to control, you're probably playing this card. Very powerful card, just being able to generate artifacts as well as make your artifacts generate double mana. Ridiculously absurd, especially for our lesson package. And then late game, we run 1 Professor Onyx, because you always need a teacher when you're having lessons. Know what I mean? But also just because it's a very good card in this deck. Just the Edict effect is nice, the card draw aspect is nice, and the Magecraft is amazing, especially with how many instant sorcery spells we're playing to cast with the Learn/Lesson Shenanigans, and other spells that we have within the deck. And if we get to the ultimate, yeah, it's a win condition. And of course, with Flying Lessons, I did want to throw at least 2 Alron's Epiphany within the deck design. And that's return, never underestimate, and we make birds which help us with the Flying Lessons. So, that is the Grixis Flying Seminar. Let's actually give it a shot on louder and see what shenanigans that it's going to provide. Shall we? That we shall. And we're going to get back to this secret deck in a minute after we're done with our 2 games with this deck. Because I actually have a little surprise with that second deck. Consider it a little bit of foreshadowing. Anyway, so we're going against the Tower of Babel. Okay. This hand is a little greedy. We don't really have any turn 2 or turn 1 plays, but we do have Dream Strits into Retriever Phoenix, into Goldspan Dragon. Pretty much if we draw into lands, that's perfect. If we draw into other stuff, perfectly fine. Ooh! Looked like our opponent had a bad time trying to duress here. But they could have an Agonizing Remorse, so we gotta keep that in mind. So we're gonna play this on the Swamp portion, play the Dream Devourer, and probably foretell... We might also just play the Dream Strits here, but chances are our opponent's gonna play the Agonizing... At least I thought in theory they would play the Agonizing Remorse. I think here then I'm just gonna play the Dream Strits. If our opponent wants to remove the Dream Strits and make us learn, more power to us, essentially. But they might be also holding up for a board wipe. Ooh, so it is discard shenanigans. Okay. So we're going to discard 2 Retriever Phoenix here. We don't really need them in the grand scheme of things. Now we have interesting choices here. We could just foretell this, essentially, so that we can play it once we generate another red mana. We could also just hold up the Prismari command. This is interesting. Okay, so we're going to swing in for 3. Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's better to foretell this. Though, there is a world where we should probably hold up the Prismari command. And hey, we just got rewarded for that. Nice. Okay, so we're going to play that. Our opponent's probably going to try to remove it. Okay, apparently not. Here, I'm actually going to foretell this, believe it or not. Because just 2 mana doing this effect is kind of absurd. Okay, they're probably going to name Odd. Yeah, that's what we suspected. Shenanigans. Okay, in that case, we're just going to foretell. Foretell. That way our opponent doesn't see our hand, and we're just going to attack in for 4. Ooh, Professor Onyx. Are they going to Edict, or are they just going to card draw here? They decided to do the Edict. Okay. Well, here, I think the play is we play this on the Swamp. And honestly... Well, actually, no. I think exiling it is actually the better choice here. Just in case that since they're running snow swamps, they are probably running blood on the snow. So it's better that we are cautious with that. Okay, here... Yeah, I'm gonna hold out a little bit. Yeah, we're just gonna kick this. Ah, Sideboard Witch. Nice. We do get a Prismari here, which I actually do want to cast, believe it or not. Do I though? Let's see. As long as we cast it like this... Yeah, that works. We cast it like this, then I think we're just going to use the Prismari command here to deal 2 damage and just draw some cards. Yep. And then we're going to draw some cards. We're going to pay the free life. We don't mind. And here... Let me keep this, so... I think we will discard the Blood Chiefs first. There is an argument of discarding the Dream Strix, though. Yeah, I think we need to hold on the Baleful Mastery here. Especially if our opponent plays a second Professor Onyx. Nope, they just play an Eye Twitch. And there's the Blood on the Snow, so they're going to probably return the Sideboard Witch. And they're going to learn, so they're probably going to learn probably Mascot Exhibition if I have to make a guess. Yep. Makes sense. Okay, so... I'm just going to foretell here. They're going to cast their Mascot Expedition, which is going to be annoying. Especially since this deck does not have that many board wipes, so... Our opponent just had a good learn package here, so yeah, there's the Mascot Expedition. They're going to generate the Pest, and then they're going to generate all these tokens. The best choice we have here is actually we got to remove the Sideboard Witch, because that's going to get problematic very quick. By the way, Sideboard Witch, probably one of my favorite cards of the Strixhaven. It's just a really good card. Now we're just in a catch-22 where mostly we don't really have any of our learn stuff. Which I will say, if you don't have any of your learn stuff, this deck does get a little bit problematic, one could say. But yeah, we just got Metal Black controlled pretty well, actually. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. Yeah, we gotta sacrifice the permanent here. And we're pretty much done. Okay, on to another round. Honestly, that one, I think the primary thing is I maybe should have kept on with some of the learn creatures and such. That way we could have had some semi-card draw. Or being able to bring stuff back with the Phoenix and such. So, That was a little bit of a misplay there, but overall, we did have some good interactions in the game, so it was fun. I'll say that. Okay, on to another game. Next game is R3D, which I'm guessing is red with free in replace of the E, is my guess. Okay, this is a really good hand. Yeah, we keep this. We'll play Castle Lockframe Tap since we don't have a turn 1 play. Play this probably on the Lava Guide Pathway, play Dream Devour, and maybe just play the Dream Strix here. We can foretell if we need to the Goldspan Dragon in a minute. Ooh, Rowan. Nice. Okay. I still think we play the Dream Strix this turn. We are flying lessons after all. But it's nice that we have a choice of foretelling whatever we need to foretell here. So this looks like the Death Touch deck, so yeah, I think it's safe to say we are playing the Dream Strix here. Not attacking in. So chances are they're either going to play more Death Touch creatures or try to remove our board with, like, removal spells. So yeah, they're more of the life-gaining deck. I see. So yeah, we're just going to block one of these. We don't mind doing the learning. What do we want to learn here, though? It might be good to actually get the Mascot Expedition, especially since this is a game that is probably going to go wide. So what I think I'm going to do here is do that, foretell this to play next turn, and then we're going to play this on the swamp portion, and actually foretell the Will and Rowan, believe it or not. We'll swing in. I don't think our opponent's going to block, because I think the next thing they're going to do is probably just try to play the alternate win condition Finn, I believe. The Death Touch and Finn. Or it could just be more Death Touch. Yep, just more Death Touch. So they're kind of like in the life drain shenanigans, it seems. Okay, well if that's the case, here's the trick I kind of wanted to show off with this. Like I said, one of the main powers of this card is the factor that we do get the ability to make our spells cost less, which if we have them foretelled, is very, very nifty. So, for example, we're going to just go get a mountain to help us with our Goldspan Dragon next turn. But we're going to just play the Mascot Expedition for a very, very cheap price, and then just plus ping our opponent. Hold up the blocker since we kind of need to, especially with all the Death Touch on the battlefield. So much Death Touch. But yeah, we're going to see how our opponent attacks here, but we are definitely going... We are in a case of, okay, they're going all at the Rowan. Okay. Mostly because they do realize we have the Drain effect here. I need to remember how this works. So yeah, whenever a creature you control with Death Touch attacks, and then it deals damage to that Planeswalker. So, yeah, we are just going to block, 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 and block. It eliminates our board, yes, but we have the Goldspan Dragon, so we don't mind that much. Plus, we also get Rillen, which is actually kind of nice. Okay, so they can do that with fun mana. I gotta keep that in mind. Okay, first things first, we're gonna do this. We'll go get blue. I'm gonna play the Poet's Quill here. And honestly, let's look at the battlefield. Actually, start from scratch is actually pretty nice here. We can just deal 1 damage to this. So now they have to attack in with the Hooded Blightthane, or if they want to keep it up as a blocker still, just attack in with their flyer, which would be perfect since we have our Goldspan Dragon. So yeah, Death Touch, as suspected. Okay, they just wanted to make sure that was not available, one could say. Okay. So we could play the Goldspan, or we could learn. I think I actually want to learn here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to get the Fractal Summoning here. Then we can attach this to this. Get ourselves a little bit of life. Just to make sure we don't die to the Crackerback. Though there is a chance our opponent might just only attack with 2 creatures here and still hold up the Fetid Imp as a blocker. That seems to be the case, so I think I will take that opportunity that our opponent's providing. So, we're going to do just that. They're going to give a Death Touch as suspected, force the block. Our opponent's thinking here. Okay, with that... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're just going to make a 4/4 fractal. We can take it. Yeah, I think we actually play this here. Generate the treasure. And then just equip the Poet's Quill on this. Hold up the blockers and just prepare to block. Oh, that was good for our opponent. That was a good top deck. I probably should have not got greedy and attacked in upon post-reflection, but boy, that was good for our opponent. That was good. Anyway, not the best showing of the deck, I'm not going to lie. We do have enough time for one more game with it, though, before we get to the other deck, so... We're going against a Wintermelon. Okay. Yeah, we can give this a shot. Okay, Shadow Spear, eh? I'm gonna play this on Swamp. See what our opponent plays next. Some foretelling, it seems to be the case. Well, we're gonna do some learning. We're going to do... Actually start from scratch because it's artifact removal. Okay, so this is interesting. Huh. Well, let's just destroy the Shadow Spear so they don't have life and trample. I'm guessing like a Foretell Stompy deck? Well, they're going to swing in, obviously. Here, we'll just play this, and honestly, I think we just Blood Juice versus this. We got the Bearful Mastery to deal with if they play a Planeswalker here. This could just be Wolf Tribal. Oh, nice use of the Snakeskin Veil there, not gonna lie. Oh, that's good artifact removal. Okay. This time, they don't have, as far as my eye can see, they don't have green mana for Snakeskin Veil. There we go. We'll go get a red mana. Actually, no, black. Black is good here because then we can actually play the Eye Twitch. Almost misplayed there. Oh, it's a Seraph deck. Okay, I see, I see. Okay, so that will put one counter on him, so we gotta keep that in mind. But we are going to learn here. Honestly, I kind of think the introduction to Annihilation is kind of a good idea to learn here. Then we'll play this on Mountain. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh boy. Ow. Okay. So we're just gonna play that. Confront the Past is actually perfect here. Then we can just swing in. No hand disruption, no hand disruption.
We were born for the hunt.
Okay, perfect. Because then, one benefit of the Dream Strix, we'll play the Mascot Exposition here, is the factor that it does counter a lot of the popular kind of like adventure removal, since it fizzles the spell, then we don't have to worry about that. We do have to worry about dying here, though. Okay, so that has 5 counters. So twice. So we have to do this for free. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That leaves us 3 mana open. I think we have to play the Mascot Exhibition here, unfortunately. And if our opponent draws removal, we're probably dead. Yeah, we're probably dead.
Looks like you weren't fit to survive.
Okay, Finn is an interesting choice in here. I'm gonna guess they are running the thing that makes all their creatures have Death Touch, the Saga. But yeah, whew. Okay. Look like our flying lessons are not doing the best, at least in the summer to spring season, one could say. However, there is sometimes a benefit where sometimes when you're learning, you don't really have the best benefit of learning in the spring and such. You know, some people are not really good, especially when it's before the summer. But some people actually are more beneficial when learning in the fall, or as with this next flying lesson deck, in the winter. which is the basic premise. So it's... I'm not going to go over all the things again, but the basic Catch-22 premise of this deck is we're running the snow as a sub-mechanic. So we have access to stuff like Blood on the Snow, Raven Lore, mostly to help us card draw and such. We'll keep Valky in this one just for the sake of experimentation, but everything else is mostly the same with the exception of the addition of Ashiok to help us, essentially. So let's give this a shot, and pretty much the lesson board is the same, so I'll make sure to provide a list down below with this one too, so let's actually have some fun with a bonus game here and play this Winter Flying Lessons of Grixis, shall we? Okay, we're going against Greg! Okay. We're also running a lot of snow-based mana here, so it's definitely experimental. I do like this mana, though, especially with Snarls in the meta. So if you don't mind playing the Temple Loss with these, they do actually benefit a lot with Snarls, so keep that in mind. Even though we do have Triumph still in the meta, but it's something to keep in mind, like with post-rotation and stuff like that. Still, this is a bit of a slow keep, but we do have a Blood Cheese first to essentially keep ourselves in check. And lucky enough, our opponent seems to be playing a little bit of the slow game too, so we will take upon their offer. Okay, mill. Well, let's see, did any... Nah, not any of these got milled. Shucks. Well, at least if they decide to play the Rune Crab Friend, we have the Heartless at, so... Okay, we're going to play this tap. We are going to have to play the Dream Strix here, just because we need to be on the aggressive just a little bit. Okay, they had all three of those in their hand. That is amazing. A little annoying, but amazing. Okay, but lucky enough, like I said before, one benefit of this card is anytime we learn and we have the little buggers in the graveyard, we can bring them right on back. And our opponent's like, nope. Okay, that game was a little bit quick, so we're going to throw in one extra game with this bonus deck. But, to be fair, our opponent was kind of mana screwed there. Though, to be fair, I could kind of understand the temptation of having 3 of your high mill cards within the same hand and just hope you draw into more mana. I could definitely understand that. We're going against Armageddon. Oh, that's some foreshadowing, potentially. Okay, let's see here. Nice hand. We actually have this to play on a turn 2, so we are keeping. I'm going to play this tapped. See what our opponent plays here. Okay, we're going to play this tapped. We're going to play the Poet's Quill. Or not the Poet's Quill. Blah. Eye Twitch. Ooh, Dream Devourer shenanigans. Nice. Okay. We're just going to play the Dream Strix here. Swing in for 1. Have the Prismari command online, potentially, next turn. If we draw an untapped mana source, though, we probably are going to play the Poet's Quill, learn something that we need to learn, and probably equip or play a cheap learn spell. But we'll see what our opponent does here first. I'm guessing this is Clerics? Our opponent's not in the trading mood. I can understand that. Well, in that case... I'm going to hold up the Prismari command here. Because if we need to, we can probably remove something very problematic or just deal some peen damage here. If we do that, then we can do some peen damage, generate a treasure, which if we draw then an untapped mana source, then we can play Ashiok next turn, so I like that. So they are probably going to foretell a lot to peen us with some points of damage. How many times am I going to foreshadow or foretell? 1. Just 1. Okay. There we go. That's something we don't mind removing with Prismari command. So we're going to deal 2 damage and create a treasure token. So 2 damage to that. We're going to draw some cards. Or generate treasure token. Brain fart. Okay, Snarl. That's actually really nice. So we're going to hold on that. We're then just going to play the second Dream Strix here. Swing in for 4. Next turn, then, we can have Ashiok online if they play a very problematic permanent. Or just create a chump blocker if necessary. Okay. I will encourage and see what you got here, opponent. Let's see the trick. Are we trading? It looks like we are trading, which allows me to learn. Okay. I think I'm just going to... Actually, Mercurial Transformation here, believe it or not. Let's see what our opponent plays here. Yet again, like I said, the Dream Strix just such a good card. Because it always negates these popular removal spells. Here, though, I do think we just play the Ashiok for value.
Come, the shadows awaken.
I did notice we were kind of going against a lot of Gagari Absent shenanigans, it seems. But yeah, this looks like a reanimated list. Flats! Okay, I still need to brew around this card, inevitably. But here, what do we do? I do think we have to bounce Flats. Then we'll play the Poet's Quill. Learning, we'll play the Mascot Expedition, we're going to do some Environmental Silence, go get a Snow-Covered Swamp, play the Snow-Covered Swamp, and I think here I am just going to make my bat into an octopus, and swing in for 6. And we exile from our opponent a Turn-Turtle Symbiosis and an Eye Twitch. That way we put our opponent at a pretty... Well, on the bright side, we do make our opponent have to exile for a lot, and we do have the Retriever Phoenix to deal with it. How many cards? 2 cards. Actually, you know what? Bye-bye, Ugin. You confront the past like you need to, so we're going to swing it for 2. We're going to hold on the Agadeem's Awakening, because we could return an Eye Twitch and some... Okay. Oh, wait. 1, 2, Oh, we can do this for 4. Doop. Doop. GG, opponent. It's always fun when you're able to beat a player that plays 2 Ugins in a row. Anyway, that is the winter season of Grixis Flying Lessons. So, for the record, before we end this, we'll do a quick wrap-up of cards I would recommend if you're trying this archetype out. Here's some cards that didn't make the list, but I would recommend trying out. Obviously, you should try some other learn stuff if you want to, like cards that I considered that are still really good for this archetype, but I kind of had to cut them out last minute. Divide by Zero, perfectly great card, being able to return a target spell or permanent, so it helps against like uncountable spells and such, and being able to learn, just great tempo you get from this, especially at instant speed. We're mostly a sorcery speed deck with both our iterations, but if we were more going into an instant variation, I would definitely have played a few copies of Divide by Zero, as well as if you're going into more aristocrats. You already seen this with the past decks that have been going around, but Hunt for Specimens, really good. Pop Quiz, if you need to draw a spell and need to learn. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either, so it's a fine card. Especially if you have ways to reduce the cost, like stuff with Rowan or Will and such. Also, there's stuff like Ingenious Inspiration, so if you're more going into a burn variation where it's super, super aggro, I definitely would say Ingenious Inspiration is a very nice fit there. Academic Dispute is an interesting card. Mostly I say you should use this as semi-unconditional removal, especially if you have more mid-range creatures. Like stuff like Goldspan Dragon, being able to attack in a Goldspan Dragon and remove like one of the more problematic creatures. Very, very nice. So, plus, also, another catchy thing you could do with this is if you are playing stuff like this, you can have it in a Goldspan Dragon list where you can actually target the Goldspan Dragon if you need to generate mana. And then there's also Enthusiastic Study for the same property here, so if you're going into more of a Goldspan Dragon build, I would definitely consider these. First Aid class is a maybe, but I don't know. Other than that, other non-learn cards I would consider for this list, I would definitely consider stuff like pretty much the popular Grixis control stuff. So stuff like Extinction Event or even Eat to Extinction if you need to. There's also Eliminate, especially if you notice that if you're going against a lot of very problematic kind of like early game creature or planeswalkers within the meta. There's also stuff that, since we're playing a little bit of red, we can run some of the Foretell stuff like Crush the Weak, as well as Bone Crusher Giant if you want to go through the whole Eldraine shenanigans, but Crush the Weak is very nice against early game. Actually, the Foretell package in general can actually be very nice, because especially with the stat reduction that you get from Rowan and Will. So stuff like Behold the Multiverse can become just like 1 mana, do this ability, very nice. Auron's Epiphany, 1 less mana, very nice. If you need counter magic, you have counter magic. Being able to have a 1 mana unconditional kill spell that scries, 1 mana, force your opponent to discard, etc., etc., etc. So definitely some very nice, interesting shenanigans you could do if you consider doing the Foretell package within your Grixis Flying Lessons deck. Overall, that is the deck. I will admit the first deck did as well as I thought it would, but hey, we all do better in the winter season regarding to learning, if we're being honest. Though, poetically irony, though, is technically, I don't know if you learn better with flying in the winter. Well, I guess technically birds technically do have to migrate in the winter, so maybe that's the better learning session, so we can go at that angle. Okay, while my brain's going to forethought, I'm just going to conclude this. Thanks for all who watched. Please like and subscribe. I hope you all have a lovely day. This is Love Dev, signing out. Bada beep, bada boop. Though, there is still the possibility that you could also make the argument that it is a struggle to learn in the winter, especially due to the factor that you don't have much sunlight. But on the other hand,